We live. Any minute. No, I'll let you know when we're live, okay? I'll check my phone.
It says recording live already on my side.
Oh, does it? Okay, awesome. I think we should be live now. Welcome, Anisa, to
Hi.
this interview. It's lovely to have you here. So Anisa's here to share with you all about her journey of being part of the 6 months program. And that's a program which helps you can reconnect back to your inner belonging. So before we start, Anisa, would you like to tell the ladies a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Okay, so my name's Anisa and from the UK, and I am a qualified dispensing optician. So I've been working freelance for many years, different opticians. I enjoyed working at different places, meeting different people. Yeah, so my career's taken different turns, but yeah, that's basically my job, is a dispensing optician. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, this journey that you've been on over the last six months. How are you feeling emotionally when we started working together? How are you feeling emotionally and and mentally?
I think emotionally I was all over the place. I didn't have any sort of, nothing was making sense. I guess I was lost. I was very sad, very confused, and I just felt like there was no hope. So emotionally I was very drained as well, because there was just so much going on around me. And I suppose it kind of puts you in a little bubble and you don't realize you're going through it, because you're just sort of, emotionally you just detach yourself from everyone and everything. And yeah, I wasn't in a good place emotionally.
And how was it, or was it impacting what you were feeling and experiencing? Was it impacting, let's say, relationships, your career, and other aspects of your life?
Oh yeah, 100%. When you're in that mode, it affects everything. It affects your work, because you go into like robotic mode. There's no emotion in your work. You're just doing what you have to do. Relationships, I kind of cut myself off many people. I just didn't like to socialize too much. In terms of like, your weight and the food and your appetite, and being really snappy, like reacting to something without thinking. All of that is affected, definitely.
Yeah. And so I remember as we had a call, and before you decided that this may be the solution to the problem, what objections were going on in your head? What were you thinking? What objections was going on in your head about moving forward and doing this healing journey where you come back to yourself and investing in your personal growth?
Well, I've never done anything like this before, so it was very new to me. I wasn't quite aware of what it was about. One of the biggest obstacles was obviously money, whether I could spend that much money on doing something I wasn't really that knowledgeable on. But I think after that first initial talk with you, I mean, I hadn't made my decision even after the first talk, but that talk just felt like it lifted a lot of burdens for me, and just being able to express myself without any bias. And that feeling that I left with, I think that's why I came back and thought, well, if I don't do this, it's only going to carry on getting worse, and it couldn't really get any worse than what it was. So I had to take that leap, and I'm definitely glad that I did. I don't think anybody around me couldn't help me, and I didn't really trust anybody to be able to speak to them openly, and there wasn't really anything anybody could do, because I think the problem was in me, and I didn't have the tools to do anything to help myself. So yeah, I thought, well, let's try it.
Yeah. And now that you've tried it and you took that risk, because really it was a risk that you took. We live in a, you know, kind of a materialistic society where you pay for something and instantly you get something tangible, right? You know, you pay for something and you get your car, you pay for something and you've got your cup of, you know, you've got your cup of coffee there. But this was something that you had to heal and go through and eventually see the results. So what was that experience for you, the whole healing process? What did you enjoy and what did you not enjoy?
Well, it was a bit of a roller coaster, wasn't it? I mean, we started with the hypnotherapy, and that was, I can't even describe what that was. I have never experienced anything on that level before. It was, it took me to places that I didn't know I could go to on the subconscious level. And I think things that we extracted from there was really interesting because it didn't come from my conscious mind, it came from somewhere else. And I think releasing all of that, it did feel like so much had been sort of cleared from my mind that I felt like I was carrying for so many years. And I guess what you think is on the surface, it's never what it appears. The problems are much more deep rooted, and I think finding that out was quite daunting for me. As well as extracting it, dealing with it, and actually doing something about it. That was really interesting. And I think the whole energy, learning about our energies and how it affects us and how we can control it, that's really interesting because I've learned a lot about myself that I didn't know. You know, when I'm around certain people or I go certain places, how my mood reacts to those things on a subconscious level, I can now actually control that. So I stay away from places that I think are going to harm my energy. But yeah, I've learned so much. I mean, you know, even just normal day-to-day practices, you know, how to keep myself on a level where I stay in control, because it's so easy to lose that control, and that can be affected by anything, other people, situations, you know, something someone said, maybe you go back in your head to something that's happened and then that's it triggers something. It's controlling the triggers and not allowing them to happen in the first place.
Yeah. It's interesting what you've said about the energy. Were you aware before we started working together how powerful our energy is and how much it impacts us emotionally, mentally, and how much we've got trapped in there from stuff from childhood, past, and just patterns, ancestral patterns, generational patterns? Were you aware of any of that before we started working together?
Not on the level that I've learned now, no. I mean, I knew about auras, and obviously from you know, studies that we've done and what we've heard from our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I knew that when you're around certain people, it has an effect on you, but how and why I didn't. And to put the two together is just, it's mind-blowing. It sort of makes sense from a scientific point of view as well, because we just know the practicality of it. You know, if you surround yourself with negative people, it'll have a negative effect on you, but why? You know, because yeah, and it was so interesting. I learned so much about how the whole system works.
Because it is a system, isn't it? And it's interesting what you've just said, and it's so true. It's combining the science with the spirituality, and there's a deep connection between the two, that once you do this work, you can feel it and see it in your own day-to-day life and how you respond and how you react. So tell us where you are now in your life after being on this journey and coming home to yourself and having a deeper sense of belonging. Where are you now that you have this feeling of deeper sense of belonging? Where are you, first of all, in your relationships with your children?
I'm in a much more content environment, I guess. I feel more in control of my decisions. I feel like I can rationally make a decision. My children are happier. I'm doing more things with my full attention. You know, I'm giving them my time. I don't feel like I get annoyed very quickly. Actually, my patience has always been really high, but sometimes with children, they can trigger you really quickly. So I've kind of learned to...
I totally get what you mean. I've got three.
Yeah, so it's really like they really do play you. They know exactly which buttons to press, but it's like not allowing that button to trigger you. So I've learned a lot with that. My relationships are becoming more deeper, I guess. There's a sort of like not just with my husband, I mean, even with my parents, I feel so much closer to them. Even with my siblings, you know, I feel like there's a responsibility from myself, and I want to give the best that I can, even in society, you know. If anybody needs any help around me, I won't even hesitate to be there for them, because I believe that everything that comes to you has come for a reason. So if you do walk past someone that's in need of something, that person's been put there as a test for you. So I just feel like as an individual, I need to be more aware and more alert of what is around me, rather than being so stuck in my own head, that I'm able to fully give my best to the world, really. So yeah, I think every aspect of my life has become more meaningful and with purpose.
I love what you said when you said that, you know, you're no longer triggered by your children. That to me is so deep, because as mothers, we can easily be triggered, and those triggers are usually related to our past wounds and stuff that's happened to us. So on the subconscious level, we get triggered. We don't realize it, but it's once we remove all of the wounds from our past, that we're able to be connected with our children, be present with them. As a result, the most beautiful thing is we actually break the cycle of generational pattern.
Yeah.
So it allows us to create a warm and loving home environment for them, which they pass on to the next generation. As a result, that's how we create powerful leaders, not leaders who only have high IQ, but also have high EQ. And a combination of that is the key to the success. Especially coming from a social work background, just you saying that, it just gives me goosebumps all over my body. It's just like, this is how we're going to create a better future for our children. So tell us, what after going through this experience, what other results have you seen and experienced in your career?
So I was obviously locuming at the beginning. I've been locuming for many, many years. And it got to a point where I just felt like I was just like a floater, just going different places, but not quite belonging in a position where I could be something, you know, bigger and give more. I've always liked a challenge. So I actually got offered a position as manager at a flagship store. And I've been doing that for a few months now, and it's been amazing. I've, you know, made so much progress with the staff, and, you know, I absolutely love the job. But then I came to another hurdle, which I seem to come to quite often. But I see every hurdle as a door for another opportunity. So this door was, I have to give up my weekends. And obviously I'm very family orientated, and, you know, my family means a lot to me. And so I had to make a decision, even something that I loved. I couldn't give up my family time. So then I decided that this is not for me. Maybe there's something else better. So yeah, I've handed my notice in. I'm doing my last week there now. Really sad to go, but yeah, my family's definitely foremost, because I mean, you don't know how long you have in life, and you don't want to have any regrets that you didn't, you know, at least balance it the best that you could and give that family that time when you work, and then life's over. So yeah, now another door is possibly opening for another opportunity. So let's see where that goes. But I don't feel like any obstacle is a negative. I feel like an obstacle is either a test, or it's a door closing for a better one to open. So just keep going, just keep moving forward, and just have that, we say yaqeen in it, just have that belief that there's someone there looking out for you always. And if you put your 100% trust in that one, then you can't really go wrong. So I have no regrets for anything, no matter how hard life has got. I always say alhamdulillah for everything, because it's made me who I am. It's made me a better person. It's made me stronger. It's made me deal with my difficulties in a much more better approach, I guess. So yeah,
you sound like you're so in your power despite all this external chaos that's going on. You know, there's possibility of you growing your career, but there's that uncertainty right now. Despite there being external uncertainty, you just seem so internally grounded, and you've stepped into your power, and you're just coming from this place of empowerment and love, as opposed to, given the situation you're going through, it could go into a state of fear, overwhelm, doubt, but you just sound so grounded. So why don't you tell us, like, the work that we do together, as you know, is all around your heart and your soul. So we're working from internally upwards. What's your connection with your heart? How is your heart feeling? How are you doing in terms of owning your self-worth, your self-confidence?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I have days where I stumble like everybody.
We all do.
We don't always get it right. But I think acknowledging that we've gone wrong is the key. It's knowing that, yeah, okay, I'm having a bad moment. How do I get out of this? And I think I've made a really good connection with myself. I mean, there was one point where I hated myself. I would look in the mirror and just not like what I saw, not just from from what I see physically, but also just internally how I felt. And I think now getting to know myself better, I'm so happy with who I am. I mean, I wouldn't change anything about myself. I love my character. I love myself. I mean, I can always improve on so much, but I think the way that I was created and knowing how I was created, because I wasn't really aware of myself before, that self-awareness has made me more grateful, I guess. And now when I do come across people who disrupt that in any way, for example, like, they might not like something, but that's not because of something that I've got wrong or I've done wrong. There's something in them. And I think distinguishing the difference is huge, because as long as you're doing everything in the correct way, then nobody should disrupt that peace. And if they do, then that's something you should keep away from. And I've learned that the hard way. But yeah, I think I'm happy with my soul, and I think spiritually and in career-wise and with relationships, they all have to work together. You can't put everything into one, because the others will then suffer. So it's having the right balance in everything. But first, you've got to learn to love yourself. If you can't love yourself, you can't then love other people, because you wouldn't be doing it in your true self.
Yeah. And what's this deep sense of inner belonging look like for you? How does it feel for you? How does it look for you? How do you know you're inside and stepped into your deep belonging?
Because I no longer worry about anything. I mean, money to me it's there. If it isn't there, I'm still going to get fed every day. It's like everything is looked after for me, and I have no doubt about that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if I'm unemployed next week after my job's finished, then it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I've been in employment since the age of 15 for many, many years. So I can't complain. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think hardship is a negativity. I mean, it's good to feel that sometimes, to just appreciate what you have. So I think also how others perceive you is like one really big thing for me is, do I portray myself to others in a positive way? Like, if I leave this world tomorrow, have I left something for people to remember me by that's good? That's the main thing, so are people going to say good things about me? Are they going to say bad things about me? And I think it's just making sure that you've done what you can to leave a positive mark on the world. I think that's all that we're here for, really, isn't it? Whether that's being compassionate towards people, just showing some love towards them. It's not always about money and materialism, because that doesn't go back with you. You leave it all behind. And at the end of the day, the bigger your house is, it doesn't make your heart any bigger. I mean, it's great for people who have it and they can afford it, but are you content in it? That's the main thing. And you can be content in a little house or a big house. You can be content in anything. So I think it's just finding that ground. Yeah,
I completely agree with you, Anisa, what you just said, that the key to your success is leaving a mark when you're no longer here. And leaving a mark for majority of like women that I work with who are dedicated mums is breaking that cycle. That's the biggest legacy that we can leave, because that ripple effect is going to be massive. And like you said, it's like externally you're looking for this belonging by buying a bigger house, buying a nicer car. All those things are great. It's great. But like you said, it's like, if you're unhappy when you're driving that car, you're not driving it from a place of fulfillment and satisfaction. And when you walk into that house, it's nicely renovated, but if you're not internally fulfilled, and if you don't come home to yourself, you're walking into that house feeling unhappy. And so I completely agree with you that the key is being fulfilled within yourself, so that ripple effect continues in all areas of your life, and you end up leaving a legacy behind. so that we create a better world, which people have emotional stability, mental stability, and just feel whole. If there's anyone that's kind of unsure about working on themselves and just having mental freedom, emotional freedom to live a life of fulfillment and satisfaction, what would be your message to them? There's someone listening right now where you were 6 months ago. What would be your message to them?
Well, first of all, well done for even watching this video, because you being on this platform means that you're looking for something, as I was when I was looking at Suemya's page. And I think if you're here, then there's a reason for it. And I think you just need to ask yourself, can you be better? Can anything in your life be improved? And if the answer is yes, then have you done everything in your power to change that? And if the answer is yes, then I think this is probably your answer. I mean, it might seem that you've got everything under control, but really, like, when I was at that stage, I felt like I was in a little hole, and I'm looking up and I can see the world going by, but I just don't feel like I'm connected to it. I feel like everything's passing me by. And I think Suemya was that hand that reached out into the hole and picked me up and took me out and showed me everything, you know, without the blinkers on. And yeah, I know financially it can be a struggle sometimes, but I mean, I did it, and I was a single mom at that time, and it was hard, but I never looked at it as a cost. I looked at it as an investment, and it was an investment in myself, and every penny was definitely worth it. So if you've got those doubts, I mean, just have that chat with Suemya, even if it's just the initial one, just to see if you have that connection, which is what I did, and that connection will give you an answer. I mean, I did istikara as well, and you know, that gave me that push, and I was like, you know what, I need to do this. And as soon as I did my first 3-hour session, things just happened automatically, things that I thought I didn't have the ability to be able to pursue. I just did it. I don't know where the energy came from, but I was just like, you know what, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? And we did it, and we were successful, and it was like, right, come on, what more can we do? And then next thing, you know, it's just everything just kept happening. And now looking back, you know, I'm in a different town, I'm in a different place, my whole life has completely changed, but it's changed for the better because I changed it. And everything that's happened is because of how strong I've become. And I don't now allow other people to control me. I'm not a people pleaser. Although I please people, I please them because I want to please them. I don't please them because I feel like I have to. Mm-hmm. And that's the generation cycle that we need to break. I think people are so stuck in this rut. I've got to be a particular person. I've got to be a particular way. I have to speak in a particular way. I have to act in a particular way. Well, yeah, you do. But are you doing it because you've been told to do it and society have asked you to do it? Or are you doing it because you feel comfortable doing that? And is Allah pleased with your decision?
Yeah, it's about being authentic and being real and just being yourself. Yeah, that sounds so simple, right? But because of these societal obvious expectation, conditioning, and, you know, cultural expectation, and like yourself, we are the first generation as well. So all of that conditioning on top of one another, plus being female, Asian, obviously our religious background, on top of that being the first generation, on top of that being first women who've gone to university in our, you know, in generation, all of that combined together, we're kind of confused as to who we actually are behind all this. Yeah, it sounds so
we have this expectation of being the best mom, the best wife, the best work colleague. You know, it's really hard because then you go to work and you feel like you're being a bad mom because you're not giving that time to your children. You're at home all day and then you feel like you're not doing enough for society. You want to go out and work. You want that independence. You know, where is that balance? That balance is what you decide it to be, not what society has decided it to be.
Yeah, and the reason why majority of the women like us excel so much in our career is because we've turned our pain into our power, and our career is a means of creating a bigger difference in the world. And that's why our career means so much to us, because we are that change maker. And wherever we work, whatever industry we're in, we usually find we excel and we go above and beyond what's expected from our job role, because we work from a place of passion and purpose. And that's why for our career, we can't give it up, or we want to flourish because we see that change. But then we all have this cultural expectation of doing everything perfectly. And it's hard. It's hard. Any other thing you'd like to share before we end this lovely, lovely interview?
Not really. I think just learn to be happy. I mean, life's too short to keep, you know, pondering over problems and what if not. Take that plunge, take those risks. Just, you know, as long as you're not putting any harm to yourself or anyone around you, I think there's no harm in it. And Suemya's an amazing person. She's become like family to me, and I don't know what I would do without her. You know, I owe her a lot of gratitude, and may Allah reward her for everything she's done. And I hope she can be that inspiration, you know, towards you and to help you if you need any help in your own lives.
You know, Anisa, you did the work. You showed that. You committed to yourself. And one thing I do want to ask you is this, Anisa, if somebody's wondering, majority of the women that I work with, when they take the step from a place of obedience and they see this opportunity that God has opened the door for them because of their prayer, I find that in some way or another, the investment that they make in themselves in this program, somehow it's repaid in a different way. Not only by their relationships getting better, but financially that money comes through in a different way. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. So it's like you know, you give something in charity and God returns it 7 times over. I believe that that's probably the same thing in this, because when you're investing in yourself and you're in a happy place, it makes you become more obedient to your religion as well, and you become more practicing. And that it's a kind of investing in your own religion and your own spirituality. And then because you're better mentally, then you work harder, and then you might earn more or something. It does have a knock-on effect for sure. Yeah, so I think if you put that money in and invest in yourself, you will get a return on that, maybe 2, 3, 4 times over or more.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for this lovely interview. I could speak to you all day.
Well, it's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Love you loads, Anita. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just